So, Lucy, you and I spoke a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was, and what we spoke about is the people that were coming on to Ashley Madison. We spoke about where they were, and we spoke. Luckily, down here in Portsmouth, we actually found out that quite a lot of people on the south coast are using Ashley Madison. So, but today we're going to talk about what type of people are using Ashley Madison. So, we found out that a lot of management positions, men who are in management positions, they use it. And for women, it seems to be medical assistants and nurses. The only two correlations that I can come up with that is the fact that maybe it's jobs with quite a lot of stress.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms. I think what we often see is that people who are assertive, who are very successful in their careers, they're often the same kind of people who've got the personality traits to get their emotional needs met as well. So I felt that for people who've got quite secure jobs and quite senior positions, that speaks to certain character traits, particularly around confidence, which might be reflected in their willingness to get their emotional needs met as well. But also with nurses and other people in the caring positions, I think what you often find in an affair is that people feel more supported or more cared for, more loved, if you like. And we know that nurses, for example, they're often drawn to the work because they've got very high levels of empathy, of compassion. And so I really wasn't surprised to see that those types of people, maybe very caring people, very nurturing people, but also people who are very assertive and maybe quite driven. I didn't think it was a surprise, really, that they might also be the same kind of people who are looking to have an affair.
And Christoph, any thoughts on that?
But I think what's interesting, we see this both in the UK and also internationally. So it does seem to be a basic, maybe human trait that correlates to what Lucy just said, that our members tend to both be sort of above average in terms of their level of education and also the salaries that they earn. So the majority of our members earn upwards of £50,000 a year, for example.
Right.
And
Okay.
that correlates to what Lucy just said.
And also, do you think that maybe, like you said, both of those jobs, it's going to be a lot of hours. People are going to be putting a lot of time and effort into that. And if maybe, like we spoke, myself and Lucy spoke about the other day, maybe when they get home, things are maybe a little bit stale, a little bit stagnant, which is where they can think, right, well, I'm putting all of this work and effort into my work life. Why isn't my social life the same?
I do think that you are speaking to a truth there whereby people can feel very dissatisfied in a relationship when their success or the amount of effort that they're putting into their job perhaps isn't really recognized or even validated. And this is why you often get a lot of people not just signing up to websites like Ashley Madison, which is the world's leading married dating website, but you often find people having affairs within the workplace. And that's because in the workplace, they're often more validated. People can see what they're doing. They rate them, they promote them, they give them accolades. And yet when you get back into your primary relationship, all of that counts for nothing. Have you taken the bins out? Have you helped me change a nappy? Why didn't you buy that toothpaste on your way back from work? So there can be quite a lot of tension or conflict. And certainly an affair is an opportunity for a lot of people to feel that they can show up in this relationship as a slightly different version of themselves, a version that's maybe more relaxed, more successful, more visible, where their needs are met, that they're actually seen and heard in ways that can often be missed in a primary relationship, often when life intervenes. There's so many other things going on, you forget to value your partner or value the couple that you've created together. And yet in an affair, that thing is given a priority.
I noticed that radio presenters isn't in there at the moment. I don't know I don't know whether that's going to change.
You did volunteer that you would do your best for Southampton and Portsmouth, given the next round of city. So for sure, I think, if we want to see radio hosts climbing up the ladder, you only really have yourself to look at.
But I know it's funny you should say about that. I know exactly how that feels because obviously I'm not saying that I'm obviously the biggest radio celebrity in the world or anything else like that, but we get to do lots of fun things. We get to go to festivals and present. We get to go to award shows and host, and we get to do all of these other bits and pieces that you do as a radio presenter. And then when I get home, my wife and kids literally couldn't care less. And like you say, it is about, oh, you haven't taken the bins out. And when are you going to fix that cupboard door and all of those bits and pieces? So I know exactly how that feels with regards to, you know, doing this sort of big job. And then basically you go home and you're just a husband and everything else like that. The other thing that I saw about this, which made me laugh, was the fact that 50% of people on Ashley Madison have brown eyes. I'm not sure if that's like a genuine correlation, a complete coincidence, or people with brown eyes are genuinely looking to go out and have more fun outside of a relationship.
That is actually a good question. I think that would have to be studied by I guess a biologist or something like that, which I can't explain it either, but it is interesting that and it's been like this for also the last time we did such a portrait of our typical members. So not quite sure what the biological reason for that may be, but it's definitely something to notice. And I do have a question though, actually for Lucy, because another thing that I thought was very interesting and that maybe Lucy, you have an answer for, is that only 8% of our members are only children, which I think is very interesting. Is there something that you have a possible explanation for why only children are maybe less likely to engage in a non-monogamous lifestyle than people who grew up with siblings?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked me that actually, because the birth order in a family is incredibly powerful in all sorts of ways. And to answer your question in a slightly different way, when we were looking at the professions and in terms of men being very managerial and perhaps, you know, with status-driven lifestyles, that would speak to people who are perhaps firstborn, where a lot of your life is very much about blazing the trail, being the sibling that goes out there and does things before the others do, and as a result being given more responsibility and perhaps more praise. I mean, people who are firstborn often do speak about the fact that, you know, that's why I think someone did some research on the number of CEOs in the FTSE 250 that were firstborn, and it was something wildly disproportionate, like over 50%. But only children are very self-sufficient. They're not very good at groups of people in the way that people who've had siblings around them just learn how to deal with the ebb and flow of human interaction in a different way to people who are only children. Only children don't necessarily seek a deeper connection with more than one person. So they're very comfortable in a relationship, but they might actually prefer either a series of monogamous relationships, or they might stay married for the duration because that's what they're more used to. They're not used to having to share parental affection and parental attention with any other sibling. And of course the same goes for other members of the family. You know, if you're the middle child, you're often described as either the disruptor or the meddlesome one, the kind of peace broker. And the youngest is often the you know, the baby of the family and slightly indulged, perhaps the golden child. But then you've got all sorts of things like, were you the only girl in a family of boys, or were you, you know, was it all boys? And it became really competitive. But I think the only children thing is not surprising to me, and neither is this idea that it's people who are very assertive and successful in their careers that would perhaps be prone to cheat.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then I'm going to sort of finish with a question that is not part of the stats, so I do apologize if you're not sure of the answer on this one. I feel the one difference with Ashley Madison over any other sort of dating website or app or anything else like that is, I feel that with the majority of what you would call the standard ones, I think is probably something like 70 to 80% men with 20 to 30% women. There's a lot more men trying to get a woman out there. Whereas obviously with Ashley Madison, the whole point of it is everybody is very honest and very upfront about their situation and what they want out of what they're looking for. So do you know the percentage of men to women ratio on Ashley Madison? Is it a lot more 50-50 or 60-40 or anything else like that?
So it's actually between paying active male members and active female members, it's close to 50-50, which in the end makes sense because by yourself you can't have a non-monogamous relationship or a secondary partner. So it makes sense that it takes two to tango in the end.
Oh, right. Okay, so there you go. So it is, if you are obviously, like I say, a man and you're looking for a woman and you go to one of these other, I'm not going to name them, but one of the other many websites, and like you say, that it's 8 men for every woman looking on there, but on Ashley Madison it's a lot more even. And the great thing is about that, obviously you need to be in a relationship, but you need to just be upfront and honest exactly about what you're looking for out of the relationship that you're looking for.
Well, we actually do, of course, also have single members. It's usually between 10 to 20% of our members who are single. And it's interesting because they're more or less sort of made up of 3 major groups. And that is, on the one hand, single parents who may say, so from time to time, I would like some companionship, but I'm concentrating on my child or children, and that's why I don't want a committed relationship at the moment. Or people, then the second group, people who are very much focused on their career, and for that reason don't want a committed long-term relationship. And then we actually also have what I like to call the vocational singles. So those who say, I don't want to have to live the daily life of a relationship. I don't want to have to wash the dirty laundry, do the dishes with somebody else, share an apartment. I'd prefer to, only have the so-called romantic moments, to go on dates, go on a trip together. And that's why they don't want a classic relationship with somebody else and are very content being a secondary partner to someone.
I would imagine there's a lot of people on there also who have been in relationships and have been married and everything else like that. And they're now at that point where they think, do you know what? I'm literally not interested in having, like you say, a typical relationship. We all still want to have fun and we all still want to go and enjoy ourselves and do those types of things. So I'd imagine there are a lot of people that are there, like, I need to live my life. I need to do, whether it's kids, work, whatever it is. But this is also still what I'm looking for on the side as well.
Well, what's interesting is that we have 2 groups basically that are, I would say, leading a change, if not to almost say a revolution. That is, on the one hand, women, and on the other hand, Generation Z, who are departing, because it's true that 21 years ago, when we started, we established ourselves as the website or a meeting place, a community, a platform for people looking for an extramarital affair in a discreet and secure manner. Now we see that more and more of our community, what they're looking for is some kind of non-monogamous relationship or lifestyle. So on the one hand, it's women who are leading this change, who say that they want an open relationship or try swinging or even a polyamorous relationship. And then Generation Z, where actually, we did a study, and only, I say, 40% of them still want a monogamous relationship. The majority of them don't even want to get or imagine getting married one day. And so the 60 remaining percent, the majority, about half of them want an open relationship and the other half a polyamorous relationship. So, having a relationship with multiple, both an intimate and emotional connection and relationship with more than one partner at a time. So I think we're on the brink of seeing a lot more diversity in terms of relationship models also being socially accepted in the near future.
Wow, that's really, really interesting to me. I think it's fair to say that's definitely an eye-opener. Christoph, Lucy, thank you very much for talking to me. I really do appreciate it. Christoph, if people want to find out a little bit more about you and they want to find out a little bit more about Ashley Madison, where can they do that?
They can just go to ashleymadison.com, or there's also the app, of course, available through both the iPhone and Google Store.
And Lucy, if people want to find out a little bit more about you?
lucyberesford.co.uk, or Twitter, actually. The Lucy Beresford, at Lucy Beresford.
Right. Thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate it. Like I say, an absolute eye-opener and an ear-opener and everything else. So thank you very much for talking to me, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.